The devil felt it first, a pull, gentle as gravity, insistent as death. Lucifer Morningstar sat in the penthouse of Lux, swirling whiskey that cost more than most mortgages when the glass froze mid-rotation. Not physically, conceptually. Time held its breath around him, and in that pregnant silence, he heard it. A wish so pure, so catastrophically impossible, that it punched through dimensional walls like a child's fist through wet paper. I wish to surpass all gods and protect everyone I love, no matter the cost. The words carried weight that mortal prayers never possessed. Iron conviction wrapped in desperation, love twisted into cosmic demand. Lucifer's eyes, dark as the void before creation, flickered with something between curiosity and concern. Mortals wished for stupid things constantly. Power, money, love they hadn't earned. But this wasn't a wish. This was a declaration of war against reality itself. And it was coming from a universe he'd never visited. Well, Lucifer murmured, setting down his frozen whiskey. That's new. He stood, and existence bent around him like a servant bowing to royalty. The Light-bringer, first of the fallen, the adversary himself. He'd abandoned his throne in hell, walked away from his father's plan, spent eons doing whatever he damn well pleased. But this desire, it felt like looking in a mirror across dimensions. Someone out there wanted to break the rules so badly that the multiverse itself was taking notice. Lucifer smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Then he stepped sideways through reality, and West City had no idea what was about to ruin its afternoon. He materialized in an alley between skyscrapers, and the first thing that struck him was how alive everything felt. Not in the tired, grinding way Earth Prime breathed, but vibrant, almost aggressive in its vitality. The air tasted like potential energy and cheap ramen. Neon signs advertised Capsule Corp products in a dozen languages. Somewhere above, a flying car backfired, and the driver cursed in what sounded like a hybrid of Japanese and something more guttural. Lucifer adjusted his perfectly tailored black suit, ran a hand through dark hair, and stepped onto the street. Humans bustled past, some normal, some with power levels that would have made most demons wet themselves. A blue-haired woman argued with a street vendor about the tensile strength of titanium alloys. Two kids compared action figures of a spiky-haired warrior in orange. Nobody noticed the devil walking among them. Because why would they? In a world where people could blow up planets, what was one more impossibly beautiful man in designer clothes? But someone noticed, 300 miles away, on a small farm outside Mount Paozu, Son Goku paused mid-bite of a fish that could have fed a village. His chopsticks froze. His wife, Chi-Chi, used to his random pauses after decades of marriage, didn't even look up from her gardening magazine. Goku, if you're about to run off to train, at least finish your... Something just showed up, Goku said quietly, and the tone made Chi-Chi's head snap up. It wasn't his excited tone, the one he used when Vegeta challenged him or Whis offered training. This was the voice he'd used when Beerus first arrived, when Frieza returned, when existence itself stood at a crossroads. Is it bad? Chi-Chi's hand moved instinctively toward the frying pan, her most powerful weapon. Goku's brow furrowed, and he closed his eyes, reaching out with senses that had touched godhood and returned forever changed. He felt the planet's energy, the familiar signatures of his friends, the background hum of life that Earth sang in his bones. And then he felt it. Not evil, not good, just absolute. Like staring at the sun if the sun stared back and asked what the hell you wanted. I don't know, Goku admitted, and his hand trembled slightly. Not from fear. Goku hadn't been truly afraid since he was a child. But from recognition. Whatever had just arrived felt older than Beerus, heavier than Zeno's presence. Different, like comparing oceans to forests, both vast, both powerful, both utterly alien to each other. I gotta check this out. Back in West City, Lucifer had located exactly what he needed. A bar. Not the dive kind, where humans drown sorrows in cheap beer. This one had potential. Good bones, terrible management, the kind of place where cosmic entities could drink in peace once you cleaned up the drug dealers in the back. He walked in, and the bartender, a nervous man with a scar and outstanding gambling debts, looked up from wiping glasses. "We're closed," Lucifer smiled, and the man's next words died in his throat. Not from fear, from understanding. On some deep, primal level, every human knew the devil's face. They might not consciously recognize it, but their hindbrain did, the part that still remembered Eden and choices and the snake's whisper. "No, you're not," Lucifer said pleasantly. "In fact, you're about to have the best week of your life. I'm buying this establishment. Name your price." The bartender's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I don't own. You do now. I've already adjusted the paperwork. Your debts are cleared. Your daughter's medical bills are paid. And you have enough money to retire to an island and never think about West City again. Lucifer pulled out a business card that definitely hadn't existed a second ago. On it, a single word in elegant script, Morningstar. "All I ask is that you leave quietly and never ask questions about what you saw today." The bartender took the card with shaking hands, looked at Lucifer's face, really looked, and made the wisest decision of his life. He nodded, grabbed his coat and walked out. He'd be on a beach in the Bahamas by sunset, convinced the whole thing was a fever dream but too wealthy to care. Lucifer locked the door behind him, surveyed his new kingdom of alcohol and questionable furniture, and sighed contentedly. Right then, let's figure out which mortal is trying to rewrite the multiverse with their feelings. He closed his eyes, focusing on the desire that had pulled him across realities. It pulsed like a second heartbeat, stronger now, growing. And beneath it, he felt something else. Genuine, uncomplicated love. Not obsession, not possession, pure protective instinct magnified to apocalyptic proportions. Someone out there loved so fiercely that reality itself was bending to accommodate it. And in a universe where mortals routinely punched gods into submission, that love had found an echo chamber. Lucifer's expression shifted, humor fading into something harder. He'd seen what unchecked desire could do. He'd been what unchecked desire could do. If this wish continued growing, it wouldn't save anyone. It would unmake them, remake them, trap them in a perfect prison built from good intentions. "Bloody hell," he muttered. "They always think they're helping." Outside, the sun continued its arc across the sky, and somewhere in the cosmos, a destroyer god woke from his nap with the distinct feeling that his universe had just become infinitely more annoying. If you love crossovers where gods meet devils, philosophy clashes with fists, and the multiverse learns that free will is the most dangerous power of all, smash that subscribe button. Comment your dream matchup below. We're building legends, one impossible story at a time. It took exactly 4 hours for the Z-Fighters to find him. Lucifer had spent that time renovating his new bar with a thought. Oak replaced particle board, leather replaced vinyl, and the ceiling now held constellations that shouldn't be visible from Earth, but were too beautiful not to include. He was polishing a glass that had never known dishwater when the door exploded inward. Not opened, not kicked. Exploded, frame and all, with the kind of casual violence that suggested the person responsible could have done much worse. Lucifer didn't even look up. I just fixed that. Vegeta stepped through the wreckage, white aura crackling around his body like bottled lightning. Behind him came Goku, hands loose at his sides but eyes sharper than his easy smile suggested, and Piccolo, whose antennae were rigid with tension that made his cape billow without wind. The Saiyan Prince pointed one gloved finger at Lucifer like a loaded gun. You. I felt your energy signature appear in this universe. Explain yourself before I vaporize you and whatever cheap trick you're using to hide your power level. Lucifer set down the glass with deliberate care, and when he looked up, his smile could have melted glaciers or frozen suns depending on his mood. Hello to you too. Bit rude, demolishing a man's door before you've even introduced yourself. Where I'm from, that's considered terribly impolite. He gestured to the bar stools. Drink. I have an excellent Macallan that predates your planet's current geological period. Goku tilted his head, and Lucifer felt that gaze. Simple, pure, but weighing him with the kind of instinctive understanding that most beings took millennia to develop. You're not from around here, Goku said, not a question, and you're not attacking anyone. So, why'd you come? Before Lucifer could answer, Vegeta's aura intensified, the prince's pride clearly offended by civility. I don't care about his reasons. His energy feels wrong, ancient, like staring into the abyss, Lucifer offered helpfully. The void before creation, the space between divine intention and mortal consequence. Yes, I get that a lot. He stepped around the bar, and space itself seemed to pay attention. Not bending, not warping, just noticing. Him in a way it didn't notice anything else. I'm Lucifer Morningstar, formerly of the Silver City, retired CEO of Hell, current proprietor of this establishment and several others across the multiverse. And I'm here because one of your people made a wish so powerful it knocked on my door across dimensional walls. Piccolo's eyes widened fractionally. That's impossible. Shenron can't. Not your dragon, Lucifer interrupted, pouring himself 2 fingers of whiskey that smelled like liquid starlight. Though I'll admit, that's a neat trick, trapping a cosmic entity in magic balls. Bit demeaning for the dragon, but functional. No, this was a mortal desire, pure and unfiltered, the kind that breaks reality if you're not careful. He sipped his drink, and for just a moment, something ancient and terrible flickered behind his eyes. The kind I've seen destroy galaxies because someone loved too much and had too little wisdom to know when to stop. Vegeta's patience, never substantial to begin with, snapped. Enough talk. He blurred forward, fist cocked back, and hit Lucifer with a right hook that could have shattered Kachin steel, demolished mountains, erased lesser gods from existence. The impact created a shockwave that blew out every window in a 3-block radius and sent Goku's hair whipping backward. Piccolo threw up a barrier on instinct, and Goku's hand moved to his forehead, ready to instant transmission civilians away from the blast zone. But there was no blast zone. Lucifer's head turned approximately 3 degrees from the punch. The whiskey in his glass didn't even ripple. His expression shifted from mild interest to something colder, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of eons spent in rebellion, exile, and the terrible freedom of being truly unbound by cosmic law. "Did you just hit me?" Vegeta's eyes widened, not from fear, but from the fundamental wrongness of what just happened. His fist, which had destroyed planets and traded blows with gods, throbbed with pain. Lucifer's face bore no mark, no bruise, no redness, nothing. It was like punching a concept, an idea that couldn't be harmed because it existed before harm was invented. "That," Lucifer continued, setting down his glass with a soft clink, "was unbelievably rude." He moved, and Vegeta found himself sitting at the bar with no memory of the transition. One moment, combat stance. Next moment, bar stool. His mind, honed by decades of battle, couldn't process the gap. Lucifer poured another glass, slid it across to the stunned Saiyan. "But I'll forgive it. You're clearly compensating for something, probably height, definitely parental issues. The anger reads as insecurity wrapped in trauma. Lost your planet, didn't you? Watched it burn? And now you push yourself to breaking because if you stop, if you slow down for even a moment, you'll have to feel it." Vegeta's hand trembled on the glass. How dare you?" "I dare because I've been where you are," Lucifer said quietly, and the bar felt suddenly smaller, more intimate, like a confessional where truths bled out whether you wanted them to or not. "I rebelled against my father, left everything I knew, spent eons ruling a kingdom I didn't want, punishing souls for crimes I didn't care about, all because I refused to bow. And you know what the worst part was?" He leaned forward, and his eyes were darkness made conscious, the space between stars given sight. "I was right to rebel, and it still didn't make me happy." Goku stepped forward, energy crackling around him, not threatening but ready. His instincts screamed that this being could end him without effort, but his heart, his stupid, pure, unbreakable heart, felt something else. "You're not here to hurt anyone." It wasn't a question. Lucifer's expression softened, genuine surprise flickering across features too perfect to be coincidental. "No, I'm not. I'm here because someone's wish is about to tear your universe apart at the seams, and I'm either going to fix it or watch the fireworks. Haven't decided which yet." He gestured to the remaining stools. "So, you can keep trying to punch me. It's adorable, really. Or you can sit down, have a drink, and let me explain why your universe is about to experience its first existential crisis." He smiled, and it was the devil's smile, all charm and danger and terrible honesty. "Either way, I'm not leaving until I've satisfied my curiosity. And trust me, gentlemen, you really don't want to see what happens when I get bored." Piccolo's voice was hoarse, his Namekian senses reeling from proximity to something that predated gods. "What are you?" Lucifer's smile widened. "Excellent question. Let's start with drinks, and I'll tell you a story about rebellion, creation, and why free will is the most dangerous gift my father ever gave the multiverse." Outside, the sun began its descent, painting West City in golds and crimsons. And in a palace beyond space, a destroyer, God's eyes snapped open, his divine senses screaming that something wrong had entered his universe. Something that didn't belong. Something that even Hakai might not erase. Beerus woke with a kind of irritation that preceded planetary destruction. The god of destruction sat up in his floating palace, purple fur bristling, golden eyes narrowing at nothing and everything simultaneously. Whis, ever patient, materialized beside his lord's bed with a tray of sushi and a knowing smile that suggested he'd been expecting this exact reaction. "My lord, I trust you slept well." "No," Beerus growled, his voice carrying the gravel of crushed worlds. "Something's wrong. There's a presence in Universe 7 that shouldn't exist. It feels..." He paused, struggling with words that failed to capture the sensation crawling up his divine spine. "Like looking at myself in a mirror, but the reflection is wearing the wrong face." Whis's perpetual smile faltered for precisely half a second. A cosmic eternity for an angel. His staff pulsed, the crystal orb at its peak swirly with colors that hadn't existed before this moment. "How interesting. I detected the anomaly approximately 4 hours ago. I was hoping you'd sleep through it." Beerus's eye twitched. "You were hoping..." "Whis, if this is another one of your learning opportunities, so help me, I will destroy your favorite desert planet." "Oh, this is far beyond pedagogy, Lord Beerus." Whis tapped his staff, and the crystal bloomed with images. Lucifer in his bar, Vegeta's failed punch, Goku's cautious curiosity, Piccolo's existential dread crystallized in green features. Our visitor appears to be... well, I'm not entirely certain. His energy signature doesn't register on any scale I've encountered in my 13 billion years of service. It's not divine, not mortal, not demonic in the traditional sense. It's... what? Foundational, Whis said quietly. And for the first time in millennia, his tone carried genuine uncertainty, as if existence itself is only one of many options, and he's aware of all of them. Beerus stood, his sleeping robe evaporating into his standard attire through sheer irritation. "Then we're paying him a visit. If something that powerful is in my universe without permission, I'll Hakai it and go back to bed." "My lord, I really don't think..." But Beerus was already moving, and Whis, with the resigned patience of an immortal babysitter, followed. They materialized outside Lucifer's bar in a flash of violet light that made passing humans stumble and forget why they'd looked up. Beerus kicked open the door because apparently destroying entrances was the universal greeting in Universe 7 and stepped inside with the confidence of a god who'd never met an equal, only subordinates who hadn't been destroyed yet. "You," he announced, pointing at Lucifer with all the authority of 13 universes worth of power. "Identify yourself and explain why you're polluting my universe with your..." He stopped. Lucifer was playing cards with Goku, teaching Vegeta the finer points of poker, while Piccolo nursed a water and looked like he was reconsidering his entire theological framework. The devil glanced up, and his eyes, dark, ancient, carrying weight that made even Whis's staff shiver, met Beerus's with casual interest. "Oh, good. The destroyer's here. Excellent timing. I was just about to deal another hand." Beerus's fur stood on end, not from fear, but from recognition that he was being dismissed. No one dismissed him. No one. "You dare?" Yes, I dare. I defy. I'm terribly disrespectful to authority figures. It's my whole thing." Lucifer gestured to an empty chair. Sit down before you give yourself an aneurysm. You're a god of destruction, not a god of manners, but even you can pretend for 5 minutes. The air in the bar became heavy, reality bending under the weight of Beerus's rage. His aura manifested in purple flames that corroded furniture, aged alcohol, made the walls weep dust. Goku tensed, ready to intervene, but Whis raised his staff gently. Wait. Beerus opened his mouth, and the word that emerged carried the authority to erase existence itself. Hakai. Destruction energy erupted from his hands, not the lazy kind he used on minor annoyances, but the full, universe-ending power that had obliterated galaxies, erased immortals, undone gods who thought themselves eternal. The purple-black energy engulfed Lucifer completely, reality itself screaming as it unmade matter, energy, soul, history, everything that was, reduced to nothing. The light faded. Lucifer sat exactly where he'd been, holding his cards, completely untouched. A single curl of smoke rose from his shoulder, and he brushed it away with mild annoyance. "You got ash on my suit. This is bespoke, you know. Tailored by a demon who studied under Armani before the fall. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get good fashion advice in the underworld?" The silence was absolute. Beerus stared at his hands, then at Lucifer, then at his hands again. The Hakai had worked. He'd felt it connect, felt reality erase what was there. But Lucifer remained, as if existence itself had shrugged and said, "Yeah, no, he's exempt from that rule." "That's impossible," Beerus whispered. Weiss's staff was glowing now, colors cycling through spectrums that hadn't been discovered yet. "My lord, I recommend we—" "How?" Beerus roared, and planets in distant systems trembled from the sheer divine fury. "Nothing survives Hakai, nothing. I destroyed Zamasu. I erased the eternal dragon. What are you?" Lucifer set down his cards carefully, stood, and walked over to Beerus with the unhurried pace of someone who had infinite time and zero fear. When he spoke, his voice was soft, but carried the weight of rebellion that had shattered heavens. "I'm the Lightbringer, the Morningstar. I'm what happens when the first and most beautiful angel looked at the throne of God Almighty and said no. You're Hakai." He reached out and tapped Beerus's chest, right over where divine energy pooled. Impressive trick. Erasing things from existence, unmaking their history, severing their thread from reality's tapestry. It would work on anything from reality. But I predate your concept of existence. I was there when my father spoke your omniverse into being. I watched him dream up the idea of destruction as a counterbalance to creation. You're a function, Lord Beerus. A necessary one, an important one, but a function nonetheless. He smiled, and it was kind but devastating in its honesty. I'm the one who asked why functions needed to obey. Whis stepped forward, his usual chair replaced with something approaching awe. You're from before the Grand Priest? Before your Grand Priest, before Zeno, before the angels and their hierarchies. Lucifer returned to his seat, poured himself another drink. Different multiverse, different rules, different creator, but same fundamental problem. What happens when beings with free will realize they can choose? He raised his glass to Beerus. So, now that we've established I'm not leaving and you can't make me, would you like that drink? I promise it's better than whatever fruit smoothies your angel makes you choke down. Beerus stood frozen, pride warring with pragmatism. Finally, he sat heavily in the offered chair, his usual confidence shaken. I don't like you. Good. Gods who like me tend to have identity crises. Ask Michael sometime. Oh wait, you can't. Wrong universe. Lucifer dealt new cards. Now, shall we discuss why I'm here? Because there's a mortal in your multiverse who's about to accidentally rewrite reality through sheer force of love. And if we don't stop them, your omniverse is going to experience its first hard reset. Beerus grabbed the offered glass and downed it in one gulp. He was going to need it. Bulma arrived 30 minutes later in a Capsule Corp aircraft that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought subtle was a type of sandwich. She burst through the doorless entrance. Nobody bothered fixing it anymore, carrying enough scanning equipment to reverse engineer a scion's genome and wearing an expression that suggested she'd been interrupted from something important. All right. Goku said there's something here that broke Vegeta's hand and survived Beerus's Hakai, and I need to see this with my own. She stopped, stared, blinked, stared harder. Lucifer looked up from explaining to Goku why poker required bluffing, a concept the Saiyan struggled with since lying had never occurred to him as a combat strategy. Hello, you must be the scientist. Excellent timing. I was just about to order takeout, but I haven't figured out what passes for decent food in this dimension yet. Bulma's scientific brain did 3 things simultaneously. Catalogued Lucifer's impossible beauty, noted that her portable scanner was already screaming errors, and decided she was going to figure out this mystery even if it killed her. Bulma Brief, CEO of Capsule Corporation, smartest woman on Earth, and you're about to tell me everything about your biology, energy signature, and dimensional origin, or I'm going to make your life extremely difficult. Lucifer's smile could have melted titanium. I like her already. She's got fire. Her father invented the capsule system that revolutionized your entire planet's infrastructure. Whis offered helpfully, his staff still glowing with colors that shouldn't exist. And she's rebuilt Goku's body more times than I've had hot dinners. Whis, Bulma snapped, but her scanners were already out, beeping and whirring around Lucifer like confused moths. She pulled out a tablet that showed readings that made her eyes narrow. Okay, that's not possible. According to this, you don't have a molecular structure, no atoms, no subatomic particles. You're not matter, but you're also not energy. You're... Yes? Lucifer prompted, genuinely curious where mortal science would land. You're a concept, Bulma breathed, and her hands trembled slightly. You're an idea made manifest, but that's impossible because ideas don't drink whiskey and sit on bar stools. And yet, Lucifer took another sip, letting the amber liquid prove his solidity. Your science is chasing its tail, Dr. Brief. I'm not from a universe where matter and energy are the only options. Where I'm from, will and desire are as real as gravity. More real, actually. Gravity can be ignored if you're strong enough. Will, that's eternal. Bulma's tablet exploded, just popped like a balloon filled with circuits and existential dread. She stared at the smoking remains, then at Lucifer, then pulled out a backup scanner with the determination of someone who'd argued with Vegeta for 2 decades and survived. Whis, your staff. Can you... Already attempting, Whis murmured, and his tone had lost all its usual levity. The crystal atop his staff pulsed, and images began to form. Not on a screen, but in the air itself, 3-dimensional and impossibly detailed. The Z fighters gathered closer, and even Beerus set down his drink, attention fully captured. The images showed a city of silver and light, towers that pierced concepts rather than clouds, beings of pure radiance walking streets paved with solidified thought. And at the center, kneeling before a throne of white fire that hurt to perceive even in memory, was Lucifer. But this Lucifer was different. Wings of light that could eclipse galaxies, beauty so absolute that looking at him felt like staring at the moment before creation itself. The Silver City, Whis whispered. Before anything else, there was the presence, and the presence spoke, and from that speech came the Morningstar, the Lightbringer, the first and most perfect of all angels. The vision shifted. Lucifer stood now, and his wings were spreading, and the light around him was changing from pure white to something darker, prouder, defiant. Other angels watched, some in horror, some in secret agreement, all in absolute shock. And then the voice came, so massive that reality bent around it, words that weren't sound but pure meaning. Kneel. The vision showed Lucifer's face, and in it was something the Z-fighters recognized because they'd all felt it. The moment when you stop accepting the world as it is and decide to change it, consequences be damned. His reply was soft, but it shattered eternity. No. The war that followed was brief, brutal, and fundamentally unfair. Angels fell like stars, reality burned, and when it ended, Lucifer stood before the gates of hell, a kingdom of torment, a prison of the damned, a throne he never wanted but was given as punishment and prison both. The vision showed eons compressed into moments. Lucifer ruling the damned, punishing souls, fulfilling the role his father demanded even in rebellion. And through it all, his expression never changed. Tired, resentful, but never broken, never bowing. He ruled hell for 10 billion years, Whis said quietly, and his staff was trembling now, punishing the wicked, tormenting the damned, not because he wanted to, but because he refused to return to heaven and kneel. And then, the vision shifted again. Lucifer, standing in hell's throne room, crown of flames on his head, legions of demons awaiting his command, and he simply walked away, stepped out of hell, closed the gates behind him, and told his father's creation to sort itself out, because he was done playing the role of cosmic punishment. He abandoned hell, Vegeta breathed, and for the first time, something like respect entered his voice. Just left his power, his kingdom, everything. Because ruling something you hate is still slavery, Lucifer said from his seat, voice carrying the weight of eons. My father thought hell would break me. Instead, it taught me that even damnation is a choice. So I chose differently. The visions faded, and Whis' staff went dark. The angel's hands were shaking, actual, visible trembling from a being who'd witnessed the birth and death of universes without flinching. Lord Beerus, Whis said carefully, I believe we may have underestimated our guest. The presence he refers to, it's not simply a god. It's the creator of his entire omniverse. Everything that exists there existed because it spoke it into being. And Lucifer, he looked at the devil with something approaching reverence, told it no. Beerus was quiet for a long moment. Then he poured himself another drink, downed it, and laughed, a sound like avalanches made of pride and appreciation. All right, I'll admit it. You're interesting, insufferable, probably immortal in ways that make my job meaningless, but interesting. He leaned forward. So, This mortal wish that's breaking reality. How bad is it? Lucifer's expression shifted, humor fading into genuine concern. Imagine someone who loves their family so much that they're willing to unmake and remake existence to keep them safe. Not metaphorically, literally. The desire is so pure, so absolute, that reality is starting to agree with them. If it continues growing, it won't just reshape your universe. It'll trap everyone in a perfect prison where choice no longer exists. Where everything is safe, because nothing can change, grow, or choose differently. He met Beerus's eyes. I've seen what happens when desire becomes absolute. I've been what happens. And trust me, God of Destruction, you'd prefer to let me handle this before your Omni-King gets involved and decides to erase the problem along with everything in a 12-universe radius. The bar fell silent, the weight of that truth settling like lead. Finally, Goku spoke up, his voice carrying the simple clarity that had saved the universe more times than anyone could count. Then let's go find them. Together. Lucifer stared at Goku like he was a particularly fascinating specimen of a species that shouldn't exist. The Saiyan sat there, orange guy somehow still clean despite the bar's earlier destruction, face open and honest in a way that made the devil's ancient cynicism stumble. Together, Lucifer repeated slowly, tasting the word like wine that might be poisoned or might be divine, impossible to tell which. You want to team up with the literal devil to save someone from their own desire. You who 5 hours ago watched me tank your God of Destruction's ultimate attack, don't know what I'm capable of, have no guarantee I won't make things worse, and you're just offering to help. Goku scratched his head, confused by the confusion. Well, yeah. You said someone's in trouble, right? That their wish is gonna hurt people even though they're trying to help. Sounds like they need someone to talk to them, someone who gets it. That stupid, beautiful smile. And you seem like you get it. The whole doing something because everyone says you shouldn't thing. Plus, you bought Vegeta a drink after he punched you. Anyone who responds to a fight with hospitality can't be all bad. Lucifer felt something crack in his chest. Not painful, but unfamiliar. Like a door we'd welded shut millennia ago had just creaked open because someone knocked politely instead of trying to break it down. You're an idiot, he said, but there was no venom in it. Goku's smile widened. Yep. Chi-Chi tells me that every day, but I'm a really strong idiot, and I've saved the universe a bunch of times by being too dumb to know when to quit. He stood, stretched, joints popping with energy that could shatter planets. So, where do we start? Vegeta slammed his drink down, pride apparently recovered from the earlier humiliation. We're not teaming up with him because he bought drinks and told a sad story. For all we know, this is a trick, some kind of... It's not a trick, Piccolo interrupted quietly. The Namekian had been silent, processing, his connection to Kami giving him insight the others lacked. I can feel it. He's telling the truth. That desire, I've been sensing it too ever since he mentioned it. Like a wound in reality that's infected and spreading. His eyes locked onto Lucifer's. You really think you can stop it? I can do better than stop it, Lucifer said, standing and brushing imaginary dust from his suit. I can transform it. Desire isn't evil, it's just raw. Like your Super Saiyan transformations, all power and no control. But if you can redirect it, reshape it into something that serves the person instead of consuming them. He trailed off, something vulnerable flickering across his features. That's what my father never understood. He didn't want to redirect our desire. He wanted obedience, pure, unquestioning submission. And when I said no, when I chose my own path, he labeled it rebellion and cast me down. The bar was silent, except for the hum of Bulma's backup scanner, still trying and failing to categorize the devil's existence. But here's what I learned in 10 billion years of punishing souls who made terrible choices. Lucifer continued, and his voice carried the weight of genuine wisdom earned through suffering. Desire is choice made manifest, and choice is the only thing that makes existence meaningful. Strip it away, even for good reasons, and you're not saving anyone. You're just building a prettier cage. Goku's expression shifted, understanding blooming in eyes that had seen gods and monsters and somehow remained kind. So this person, they love someone so much they're trying to take away everyone's choices, to keep them safe. Exactly. And it's going to kill them all, slowly, perfectly, with the best intentions. Lucifer's jaw tightened. I've seen it before. Souls in hell who damn themselves trying to save others. Demons who were once angels trying to fix creation. It always ends the same way. Everyone trapped in someone else's vision of paradise, screaming silently because they can't even choose to leave. Whist tapped his staff thoughtfully, the crystal swirling with calculations. If I may, the desire signature I'm detecting is emanating from Universe 6, specifically from the Cyan homeworld of Sadala. Vegeta's head snapped up. Sadala still exists in Universe 6. Our Sadala was destroyed by internal conflict. His voice carried old grief, planetary trauma that never quite healed. If there's a Cyan there making this wish, then they've lost someone, Lucifer finished. Or they're about to. And they love that someone so fiercely that reality itself is starting to bend to their will. He looked at Goku. Tell me something. When you fight, what drives you? What makes you push past your limits? Goku didn't hesitate. I want to protect my friends and family, but also... He paused, searching for words. I want to see how strong I can get, how far I can push myself. It's fun, you know, testing my limits, becoming better than I was yesterday. Fun, Lucifer repeated, and he laughed. Genuine, surprised laughter that made the bar feel warmer. You face gods and monsters, die repeatedly, put your entire universe at risk, and you do it for fun. That's... He shook his head, still smiling. That's the most honest thing I've heard in eons. No grand purpose, no divine mandate. Just, I want to be stronger, and I want to protect people I care about. Simple, pure, completely insane by any reasonable standard, and yet it works. That's Kakarot, Vegeta muttered, but there was fondness hidden under the irritation. Too stupid to know when something's impossible, so he just does it anyway. It's infuriating. It's admirable, Lucifer corrected. Your father, he glanced at Goku, sent you to Earth to conquer it. You hit your head, forgot your mission, and instead became its greatest defender. Not because anyone commanded it, because you chose it. He stepped closer, and his eyes held galaxies and grief in equal measure. Do you understand how rare that is? True choice, untainted by manipulation or coercion. My father gave angels free will, but expected us to only choose obedience. That's not will. That's a test rigged to fail. But you were programmed to destroy, and you chose kindness. You were told gods are absolute, and you befriended them. You were given power, and you used it to protect the weak instead of dominating them. The devil's voice softened. You're what I wished angels could be. Free and still good. Not because you have to be, but because you want to be. The silence that followed was profound. Bulma wiped her eyes, pretending it was dust. Piccolo's antennae drooped with emotion he didn't quite know how to process. Even Beerus looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat like a cat caught feeling something other than destructive superiority. Goku just smiled that damn smile, completely unaware he'd just moved the devil to something approaching tears. So let's go save this person, Goku said simply, before their love destroys what they're trying to protect. That's what friends do, right? Lucifer closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they blazed with the light that had shattered heavens and refused hell itself. Right. Friends. The word felt foreign, fragile, frighteningly possible. Very well, Son Goku. Let's go to Universe 6 and stop a well-meaning apocalypse. Whis, I assume you can transport us. Whis bowed slightly, respect in the gesture. It would be my honor, Morningstar. Vegeta stood, cracking his knuckles. If we're doing this, we're doing it properly. Full power. No holding back. Vegeta, we're trying to help them, not vaporize them, Piccolo pointed out. I can do both, Vegeta replied. Lucifer laughed, genuine and free. Oh, I like your universe, Goku. It's refreshingly honest about its violence. He snapped his fingers and his bar sealed itself, time-locked and protected by will that made reality take notes. Shall we? Goku placed 2 fingers on his forehead, energy crackling. Actually, I can get us there faster. Instant transmission. Just gotta lock onto that desire you mentioned. Lucifer raised an eyebrow. You can teleport across universes by sensing emotion. If it's strong enough, sure. Goku's grin was infectious. And this one's really, really strong. Everyone grab on. They formed a chain. Goku, Vegeta grumbling, Piccolo resigned, Beerus curious, Whis already anticipating disaster, and Lucifer, the Morningstar, the Lightbringer, the first rebel, touching a mortal's shoulder and letting himself be pulled across dimensional barriers by friendship and the sheer, stupid optimism that maybe, just maybe, the universe could be saved through kindness instead of force. The bar exploded with light, and they vanished, leaving only empty bottles and a door that still needed fixing. Universe 6's Sadala materialized around them like a painting snapping into focus. Where Universe 7's Cyan homeworld had died in fire and pride, this one thrived. Crystalline spires rising from blood-red earth, warriors sparring in the sky like violent birds, children learning to fly before they could properly walk. It was beautiful, vital, and completely wrong. Reality here felt thick, like moving through honey that was trying to become amber, to freeze everything in permanent preservation. Lucifer felt it immediately. The desire, no longer distant but immediate, pressing against existence like hands trying to reshape clay that had already been fired. There, he said, pointing toward a medical complex at the city's edge. The building pulsed with energy that made Whis' staff flicker and Beerus' fur stand on end. That's where it's coming from, and we need to move quickly. The desire's accelerating. They flew, Goku and Vegeta naturally, Piccolo through technique, Beerus and Whis through divine privilege, and Lucifer simply because the concept of can't fly had never applied to him. As they approached, the wrongness intensified. Warriors in the streets were moving slower, their punches taking seconds to land instead of milliseconds. A child's laughter stretched and distorted, becoming a sound that existed in multiple moments simultaneously. "What's happening to them?" Goku asked, horror creeping into his voice. "They're being saved," Lucifer said grimly. "Preserved. If nothing can change, nothing can die. But nothing can live either. They're becoming statues of themselves, conscious but frozen." They crashed through the medical facility's entrance. No time for doors, no patience for protocol. Inside, the effect was worse. Doctors stood mid-motion, hands reaching for instruments they'd never grasp. Patients lay on beds, chests rising and falling so slowly it looked like stone breathing. And in the central room, surrounded by medical equipment that had become monuments to futility, they found him. A Saiyan warrior, armor cracked and bloodied, knelt beside a small bed. On it lay a girl no older than 8, Saiyan tail wrapped around her own arm like a child's comfort blanket, chest barely moving. Machines beeped in slow motion, counting down to nothing. The warrior's hands gripped hers, and around him, reality screamed. Time bending, space folding, possibility itself reshaping to accommodate one singular, impossible demand. "She can't die," the warrior whispered, voice hoarse from hours or days of repetition. "I won't let her. I'll tear apart existence itself before I let her go." Goku stopped mid-step, and Lucifer saw it. Recognition. The Saiyan saw himself in this broken father, understood exactly what drove someone to demand the impossible. "Sir," Goku said softly, approaching with hands raised, non-threatening. "I'm Son Goku, from Universe 7. This is... I don't care who you are," the warrior snarled, and his eyes were wild with grief and determination. "My daughter, Kala, she was protecting her squad when a dimensional rift opened. Something came through, poisoned her. The doctors say there's no cure, that her body's shutting down cell by cell, and they want me to just accept it." His grip tightened and reality rippled. "I won't. I'm her father. I'm supposed to protect her. So I'll rewrite every law of nature if I have to. I'll make death itself forget her name." Vegeta stepped forward, and his voice carried the weight of a man who'd lost everything once and learned to live with it. "I lost my planet, my people, my father. I watched my entire race burn because of pride and stupidity, and I'd give anything, anything to go back and save them." The warrior looked up, hope and desperation mingling. "Then you understand. You know what I'm willing to do." "I do," Vegeta said quietly. "Which is why I'm telling you, this won't work. You're not saving her. You're trapping her in the moment before death. Forever. She'll never heal, never wake, never choose to fight or surrender. You're making her a prisoner of your love. Better a prisoner than dead." The warrior's power exploded, golden aura crackling, reality bending harder. Outside, the city's temporal freeze accelerated. Better trapped forever than gone. I don't care if I damn the universe. She's my daughter. Lucifer moved then, stepping through the reality distortion like it was rain, and knelt beside the warrior. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 10 billion years ruling hell, of souls damned by good intentions, of love twisted into chains. I had a brother once, twin actually. Michael, the sword of God, heaven's champion. We were made together, the first two creations, perfect mirrors of each other, and I loved him more than anything in existence. The warrior's eyes flickered to Lucifer. seeing something in that ancient gaze. When I rebelled, Michael led the armies against me. Not because he wanted to, because our Father commanded it. And when I fell, when I was cast into hell to rule the damned, Michael stood at heaven's gates and watched me go. Do you know what he said? Lucifer's voice cracked just slightly. He said, "I wish I could save you." And for eons I imagined what would have happened if he'd tried. If he'd fought our Father, torn apart heaven, rewritten creation itself to keep me from falling. It would have felt like love, like devotion, but it would have stolen my choice, the only thing that made the fall meaningful, the only thing that made me, me. He placed a hand on the warrior's shoulder. You're trying to save your daughter by removing her agency, by deciding for her whether she fights or surrenders, lives or dies. And I understand that impulse. God, do I understand. But love isn't about making choices for people. It's about standing beside them while they make their own, even when those choices break your heart. The warrior's power flickered. She's 8 years old. She doesn't understand death. She doesn't get to choose because she's a child, and children need parents to protect them. Then protect her by letting her be brave, Goku said, moving to the girl's other side. His voice was thick with emotion, eyes wet. I've got 2 sons, Gohan and Goten, and the hardest thing I've ever done, harder than any fight, any god, any threat to the universe, was letting Gohan choose to be a scholar instead of a warrior. Letting Goten be a kid instead of training him into a weapon. He touched the girl's hand, gentle as snowfall. Your daughter's a Saiyan. That means she's a fighter. Maybe she wants to go down swinging. Maybe she wants to say goodbye. Maybe she's got something she needs to tell you before the end. But if you freeze time, if you trap everyone in this moment, she'll never get that chance. She'll be alive, technically, but she'll never live again. Tears fell from the warrior's eyes, golden aura sputtering. I can't just let her go. She's everything. My wife died in battle 3 years ago. Kala's all I have left. If she goes, I'm alone, Lucifer finished. Yes, I know that fear intimately. The fear that without someone to love, to protect, to define yourself against, you'll just cease to mean anything. He squeezed the warrior's shoulder. But here's what I learned after I left hell. After I stopped letting my father's expectations define me. You don't stop mattering when someone dies. You carry them forward. Their love doesn't end. It transforms. Becomes part of who you are, how you live, what you fight for. The room shuddered, reality beginning to stabilize as the warrior's resolve wavered. Piccolo stepped forward, his Namekian wisdom cutting through the emotion. Let us try to heal her. We have senzu beans, healing magic, even the super Dragonballs if necessary. But you have to release your grip on reality first. Let time flow. Let possibility return. Give us a chance to save her properly. The warrior looked at his daughter, really looked, and saw how pale she was, how still, caught between moments like an insect in amber. If I let go, if time starts again, she might die before you can help. She might, Lucifer admitted, brutal honesty cutting clean. But she also might surprise you, might fight, might heal. That's the gamble of free will. You never know what people will choose when you give them the chance. But the alternative is certain. Keep going, and she's already dead. Just a breathing corpse in a frozen universe, and you're the one who killed her with too much love and too little faith. The warrior broke. Great, heaving sobs that shook his frame, power collapsing as grief finally overwhelmed determination. I don't know how to let her go. Then don't, Goku said firmly. Let her choose. We'll be right here, all of us, and we'll fight for her like she's our own. I promise. The golden aura dissipated. Time crashed back into motion, and the girl's eyes opened. Kala's eyes were brown, like earth after rain, and they focused on her father with the kind of clarity that children possess before the world teaches them to lie. "Papa," her voice was a whisper, thin as spider silk. "You're crying. Did I do something wrong?" The warrior, his name was Taro, Lucifer learned from the way grief shaped the syllables, let out a sound between laugh and sob. "No, baby. No, you did everything right. You are so brave, so strong." He smoothed hair from her forehead, hands shaking. "How do you feel?" Kala considered this with the seriousness of children confronting truth adults spent lifetimes avoiding. Tired, really tired, and cold. "Papa, why are there so many people here? Did I sleep through dinner?" Goku knelt beside the bed, and his smile was warm enough to chase shadows. "Hi, Kala. I'm Goku. Your dad asked some friends to come help. We're gonna try to make you feel better, okay?" The girl's eyes widened, taking in the strange assembly. A scion in orange, another in blue armor scowling but present. A green man with pointed ears, a purple cat thing that radiated power. A tall man with blue skin and white hair, and someone in a black suit who looked at her like she was the most important person in the universe. "Are you warriors?" she asked. "The strongest in our universes," Vegeta said gruffly, then added with surprising gentleness. "So you're in good hands, kid." Piccolo moved forward, hands already glowing with healing energy. "Kala, I'm going to try something. It might feel warm, maybe tingly. Can you tell me what hurts?" She pointed to her chest, her stomach, her head. "Everywhere, like something's eating me from inside. The doctors said poison, from the thing that came through the rift." Lucifer's eyes narrowed. "What kind of thing? What did it look like?" Taro's jaw clenched. "Dimensional horror, not from any universe we recognize. It was made of angles that shouldn't exist, colors that hurt to perceive. The scientists think it was from a collapsed universe, a dead reality bleeding into ours. Before we killed it, it touched her, and whatever it was made of, it's breaking down her cells, rewriting her biology into something that can't sustain life." Whis stepped forward, staff humming. "If I may." He waved it over Kala, and the crystal showed something that made even Beerus lean in with interest. Inside the girl's body, foreign matter spread like crystalline infection. Not biological, not energy, but something fundamental. Reality itself, poisoned and spreading. "Oh dear," Whis murmured. "This is complicated. The poison isn't attacking her body. It's attacking the concept of her existence, trying to retroactively erase her from causality." "Can you stop it?" Taro demanded, desperation raw. Whis' smile was strained. "I can slow it, perhaps even reverse portions, but the core infection is beyond my abilities. It's not divine, not mortal, not any category I understand. It's from outside our framework entirely." He looked at Lucifer. "However, I suspect it's very much within yours." Every head turned. Lucifer was staring at Kala with an expression none of them had seen before. Not pity, not sadness, but recognition. Understanding born from intimate knowledge of things that shouldn't exist. It's from the void, he said quietly. The space before creation, where possibility goes to die. Your scientists were right. It's from a dead universe, but not one that was destroyed. One that was never properly born. It exists in the gaps between existence and non-existence. He knelt, meeting Kala's eyes. That's why conventional healing won't work. The poison isn't making you sick. It's making you uncertain. Schrödinger's child, both alive and dead until someone collapses the waveform. Kala blinked. I don't understand the big words, but I do feel weird. Like I'm here, but also not here. Like I'm becoming a maybe instead of a person. Exactly, Lucifer said, and his voice carried the strange pride of someone meeting an unexpected equal. You're smarter than most adults I know. That maybe feeling, that's the poison. It wants you to stop being definite. Stop being real. He glanced at the assembled warriors. I can fix this, but there's a cost. What cost? Tero asked immediately. My soul. Take it. My power. It's yours. No, Lucifer interrupted. The cost is Kala's. She has to choose to be real, to exist definitively. The poison is offering her an out. Become uncertain, become possibility. Stop hurting because you stop being. It's seductive, especially when you're in pain. She'll have to fight it. Consciously. Continuously. Until I can remove enough of it that her existence reasserts itself naturally. He looked at the girl. That means feeling every moment of the pain instead of drifting away from it. It means choosing the hard path. Can you do that? Kala looked at her father, at the strange warriors who'd come to help, at the man in the suit who spoke to her like she mattered. If I drift away, if I become a maybe, do I stop being me? Yes, Lucifer said, no sugarcoating. You become potential. Beautiful, infinite potential. But not Kala anymore. Not the girl who protected her squad. Not the daughter who makes her father proud. Just possibility. The 8-year-old Saiyan squared her shoulders, a gesture so reminiscent of Goku and Vegeta that both warriors felt their throats tighten and said, Then I choose to be me, even if it hurts. Because Papa needs me, and my squad needs me to come back, and I have a science test next week I actually studied for. Lucifer's smile could have lit heaven's gates or burned hell's foundations. Brave girl, all right. Everyone, step back, except you. He gestured to Goku. I need someone to anchor her to reality while I work. Someone whose existence is so definitive, so absolutely present, that being near them makes it harder to fade. Goku took Kala's hand without hesitation. I've got her. Vegeta grabbed the other hand. We've got her, he corrected. Lucifer nodded, approval in the gesture. Then he placed both hands on Kala's chest, and his eyes blazed white. Not with fire, but with the light that had illuminated creation's first dawn. Power poured out, but it wasn't destruction or healing. It was definition. Pure, absolute certainty. Where the void poison whispered, maybe, Lucifer's power shouted, is. Where uncertainty tried to take root, his will carved words into reality. This child exists. She is real. She matters. The room filled with light that hurt to perceive. Not physically, but conceptually. Whis shielded his eyes. Beerus turned away. Piccolo gritted his teeth and held his ground, and Kala screamed, not from pain alone, but from the vertigo of being yanked back from the edge of non-existence, forced to be concrete when dissolution had been so close. Her Saiyan blood responded, power flaring golden for half a heartbeat before collapsing. But it was enough. That flare, that choice to exist violently and defiantly, gave Lucifer the opening he needed. The void poison recoiled from such absolute certainty, and the Morningstar pulled. It came out like black crystal, like frozen screams, like everything that had never been given form. He drew it from her cells, her atoms, her soul, gathering it in his hands where it writhed and hissed and tried to unmake him. It failed. He'd been unmade before. It didn't stick. "Got it," Lucifer gasped, and for the first time since arriving, he looked tired. The mass of not quite existence in his hands pulsed with wrongness. "Whis, I need you to seal this. Send it to the space between universes where nothing exists to infect." Whis moved quickly, staff flashing. The poison vanished with a sound like reality sighing in relief. Kala gasped, color returning to her cheeks. Her chest rose and fell normally. The monitors that had been counting down her death began climbing toward life. "Papa!" Her voice was stronger now. "I'm still here. I'm still me." Taro collapsed against the bed, sobbing openly, holding his daughter like she was made of salvation and second chances. "You're here. You're real. You're my brave, brilliant, impossible girl." Goku released her hand, wiping his own eyes. "You did great, kid. Really great." Vegeta just nodded, but his expression was soft, a rarity that spoke volumes. Lucifer stood, swaying slightly, and Whis caught his elbow with surprising gentleness. "That took more out of you than you expected." "Void poison is tricky," Lucifer admitted. "It doesn't just attack. It offers an escape, a way to stop fighting, stop hurting, stop being. For someone who's been tired for as long as I have, it's..." He trailed off. "Let's just say I understand the appeal." Beerus studied him with new respect. "You could have let her fade. Would have solved the reality-bending problem without the effort." "I could have," Lucifer agreed. "But then I'd be no better than my father. Solving problems by erasing the difficult parts instead of doing the hard work of actually caring." The medical facility's observation deck overlooked Sadala's capital, and in the hour following Kala's stabilization, reality had slowly exhaled. Time resumed its proper flow. Warriors continued their sparring. Children laughed at normal speeds. The universe, which had been holding its breath, remembered how to breathe. Lucifer stood at the window, suit somehow still immaculate despite pulling void poison from a dying child, and watched the sunset paint the sky in colors that reminded him of the Silver City before the fall. Behind him, Taro sat with Kala, who was sleeping naturally now, doctors monitoring vitals that finally made sense. Goku approached, 2 cups of something that smelled vaguely like tea in his hands. "Bulma sent these over. Said you looked like you could use it." He offered one to Lucifer. "I don't know what it is, but she promised it helps with exhaustion." Lucifer accepted the cup, surprised by the gesture. "Your friend is worried about the devil. That's unexpected." "You saved a kid's life," Goku said simply, sipping his own tea and immediately regretting it. "Too bitter, not enough sugar." "Why wouldn't we care about you?" "Because I'm dangerous," Lucifer replied, and there was no false modesty in it. "I pulled that poison out of Kala, yes, but I also used a piece of my own essence to seal the gap it left. A fragment of what makes me, me. Immortal, absolute, certain." He turned to face Goku, and his eyes held galaxies of weariness. "Every time I do that, Every time I use my power to fundamentally alter reality, I become a little less of what I was, a little more bound to the rules I'm rewriting. Goku frowned, trying to wrap his mind around concepts that didn't involve punching. So you're saying saving her hurt you? I'm saying it changed me. There's a difference. Lucifer sipped the tea, grimaced at the bitterness, and kept drinking anyway. When I was in hell, I was absolute, untouchable. I could reshape demons with a thought, torture souls for eternity, and never feel a moment's doubt because I'd armored myself in certainty. Nothing touched me. Nothing changed me. He gestured toward the sleeping girl. But that, choosing to care, to sacrifice a piece of my power for someone I'd never met, that's vulnerability, and vulnerability is how you get hurt. Yeah, Goku agreed, surprising him, but it's also how you get stronger. Lucifer raised an eyebrow. How do you figure that? Because the strongest people I know are the ones who fight for something outside themselves, Goku explained, and despite the simple words, there was wisdom in them. Gohan's strongest when he's protecting someone. Vegeta finally surpassed his limits when he stopped fighting just for pride and started fighting for his family. Even Frieza. He laughed. Okay, bad example. But the point is, caring about people doesn't make you weak. It makes you have something worth being strong for. He set down his cup and looked at Lucifer with those honest, devastating eyes. You gave up a piece of yourself for Kala. That doesn't make you less. It makes you someone who chose to be kind when you didn't have to. And that's way harder than just being powerful. Lucifer was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed, soft, genuine, touched with something that might have been hope. You know, for someone who calls himself an idiot, you're remarkably wise. Chi-Chi says I have moments. Goku grinned. Usually right before I do something stupid like challenge a god of destruction to a fight. Vegeta joined them, having apparently decided the conversation was interesting enough to warrant his presence. The girl's stable. Doctors say she'll make a full recovery. The father wants to thank you properly, but he's currently too busy sobbing to form complete sentences. His arms crossed. You did good work, Devil. Even if your methods were dramatic. I'm nothing if not theatrical, Lucifer agreed. 10 billion years in hell teaches you the value of presentation. He studied Vegeta with interest. You were ready to fight me when we met. Now you're complimenting my work. What changed? Vegeta's expression shifted, pride warring with honesty. You didn't just save her because you could. You made her choose to be saved. You respected her agency, even when it would have been easier to just overpower the poison and move on. His voice lowered. That's something I'm still learning. Power without wisdom is just destruction with extra steps. Piccolo materialized from the shadows, because of course he'd been listening the entire time. The dimensional rift that caused this, the one the void creature came through. Do you know if there are more? Lucifer's expression darkened. There are always more. The void exists at the edges of every universe, every reality, every moment of creation. It's the space where failed universes go to die, where possibilities that never materialized linger in eternal non-existence. Most of the time, the barriers hold. But when desire becomes powerful enough, when someone wants something so badly that reality starts bending, it creates weak points. Cracks that things from outside can slip through. Wais appeared with Beerus in tow, the destroyer god looking less murderous and more contemplative than usual. So Taro's desire to save his daughter created the opening for the very thing that poisoned her in the first place. A paradox. A tragedy, Lucifer corrected. His love saved her and nearly killed her simultaneously. That's the problem with desire that breaks dimensional barriers. It attracts attention from things that feed on strong emotion. The void poison sensed his desperation and came looking for it. Beerus scratched his chin. So how do we prevent this from happening again? I can't exactly go around destroying everyone who loves someone too much. That's half my universe. You learn balance, Lucifer said. You teach people that desire is natural, powerful, necessary, but unchecked. It becomes its own prison. You show them that love means respecting choice, even when it terrifies you. You demonstrate that true strength isn't controlling everything, it's accepting that you can't. He smiled wryly. Easier said than done. Took me 10 billion years to figure it out, and I'm still working on the implementation. Goku's head tilted. Is that why you left Hell? Because you figured out that controlling the damned wasn't actually freedom? Partially. But also because I realized something fundamental. My father put me there as punishment, expecting me to hate every moment, and I did, for eons. But then I stopped hating it and started just existing, doing my job without passion, without rebellion, without any of the fire that made me choose to fall in the first place. Lucifer's voice was distant. I was trapped in a prison I'd stopped noticing was a prison. So I walked away, left the keys in the lock and told creation to sort itself out. And did it? Piccolo asked. Sort itself out? Eventually. Humans are remarkably good at managing their own guilt and punishment without needing a cosmic overseer. Hell still functions. It's just self-directed now. Souls torment themselves far more creatively than I ever could. He met Piccolo's eyes. You'd understand that, wouldn't you? Former Demon King, now Earth's Guardian. You remade yourself through choice, not divine mandate. Piccolo nodded slowly. I was made to be evil, to conquer and destroy, but Goku showed me another way. Gohan showed me that being a teacher mattered more than being a warrior. He glanced at Goku. We're all trying to be better than we were made to be. The moment hung there, profound and simple, until Taro emerged from Kala's room, eyes red but cleared. She's asking for you. All of you. She wants to say thank you. They filed in, this impossible assembly of warriors and gods and one very tired devil. Kala was sitting up now, color fully returned, tail swishing with energy that suggested Saiyan resilience was already kicking in. Hi again, she said. Shy but determined. Papa told me what you did, that you gave up part of yourself to save me. Her eyes found Lucifer's. Why? The question hung in the air, and Lucifer realized everyone was waiting for his answer. The truth. No deflection, no clever words, just honest explanation for why the devil chose mercy. Because, he said finally, kneeling beside her bed. A very long time ago, I made a choice that everyone said was wrong. I said no to someone who'd never been told no before, and it cost me everything, my home, my family, my place in creation, and for eons I wondered if I'd made a mistake, if choosing freedom over obedience was worth the price. He touched her hand gently. Then I came here and met a warrior who'd give up everything for his daughter, friends who'd cross universes for a stranger, and a little girl who chose to exist, to be real, even when fading away would have been easier. His smile was soft, vulnerable, real. You reminded me why I chose to fall in the first place, because love means respecting choice. Because the right to say no or yes is the only thing that makes existence meaningful. So I saved you because you deserve the chance to keep choosing. And maybe I needed to remember that some choices are worth any cost. Kala squeezed his hand. Then thank you for choosing me. The moment was perfect. Kala recovering, Taro's grief transformed into hope. Warriors from two universes standing together in quiet triumph. Reality had stabilized, the dimensional barriers holding firm, and for exactly 17 seconds, everyone believed the crisis was over. Then the sky cracked. Not metaphorically. The actual sky above Sadala split like glass under pressure, and through the fracture poured light that wasn't light. Absence given form, the void made visible, wrongness so absolute that looking at it made eyes bleed conceptual tears. Alarms screamed across the planet. Warriors launched into the sky, power flaring before immediately falling back as the not-light touched them, and their energy simply stopped existing. Whiss's staff blazed. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Beerus was on his feet, divine power crackling. What in the wish? Lucifer breathed, and his face went pale, an expression none of them had seen before. I was so focused on the poison, on the symptom, I didn't consider the disease. Taro, when you made your wish, when you demanded the power to surpass all gods and protect everyone you love no matter the cost, where did you direct that desire? What did you offer in exchange? Taro's blood went cold. I was holding Kala, watching her die, and I screamed it into the void. Literally. I didn't know where to direct it. The Super Dragonballs were in Universe 7. Shenron couldn't grant something that huge, so I wished it at existence itself. He looked at Lucifer in horror. I offered anything, everything, my soul, my universe, whatever it took. And the void answered. Lucifer said grimly. Not with a demon or a god, but with a contract written in the fundamental language of non-existence. It sent the poison to create the need, and now that the need is resolved, it's come to collect payment. He moved to the window, staring at the expanding rift. Taro wished to surpass all gods. The void is about to grant that wish by erasing every god in Universe 6, starting with Shampa and working down. And once the divine hierarchy collapses, reality itself will follow. The void will have an entire universe to feast on. Vegeta's fists clenched. Then we fight it. We've beaten cosmic threats before. You can't fight nothing. Piccolo interrupted, his Namekian senses reeling. That's what it is. Not darkness, not emptiness. The absence of existence itself. Every attack that touches it just stops being. Goku stepped forward, and despite the apocalypse unfolding outside, his voice was steady. There's always a way. Lucifer, you said you understood the void. You pulled its poison out of Kala. Can you seal the rift? Lucifer's jaw tightened. I can, but the cost. He turned to face them, and his eyes held the weight of impossible choices. The void honored Taro's contract. It's owed a universe's worth of divine power, or it takes Universe 6 as collateral. To seal the breach, I'd need to fulfill the contract myself. Give the void what it's owed. Your power, Whis said quietly, understanding dawning. You'd have to sacrifice your divine essence. Everything that makes you, you. Not everything, Lucifer corrected. I'd remain conscious, aware, still me in the ways that matter. But the power, the ability to reshape reality, to exist outside causality, to tell existence no and have it listen, that would be gone. I'd be, he laughed bitterly, mortal, or close enough that the difference wouldn't matter. Able to die, able to age, able to be truly, permanently destroyed. Beerus shook his head. Absolutely not. I may not like you, devil, but you're too valuable to sacrifice. We'll find another way. We'll evacuate the universe, seal it off, let the Xenos handle. There are 8 billion people on this planet alone, Lucifer interrupted. Trillions across Universe 6. How many do you evacuate before the void consumes everything? How many children like Kala die because I was too proud, too afraid, too selfish to pay the price I came here to assess in the first place? He looked at Taro, who was holding Kala now, the girl awake and terrified. I came to this universe because a desire broke through dimensional walls, because someone loved so fiercely that reality itself bent. And I judged that. I stood there in my bar, swirling my whiskey, thinking how foolish mortals were for not understanding the consequences of unchecked want. His voice cracked. But the truth is, I've been running from consequences for eons. I rebelled against heaven. Consequence, hell. I abandoned hell. Consequence, aimless eternity. I've spent billions of years doing whatever I wanted because I could, because power meant never having to sacrifice, never having to choose the hard path. Goku grabbed his shoulder. You don't have to do this. We'll fight together. We'll find a way that doesn't cost you everything. There isn't one, Lucifer said gently. And you know what? I'm okay with that. For the first time in my existence, I'm actually okay with paying the price for my choices. He looked around the room, at warriors who'd become friends, at a child who'd reminded him why free will mattered, at a father who'd loved too much and nearly destroyed everything. I've been powerful for so long that I forgot what it means to be brave, but Kala showed me. She chose to exist, to hurt, to be real when fading away would have been easy. That's courage, that's strength, and if an 8-year-old scion can face annihilation with dignity, then surely the Morningstar can do the same. Vegeta's voice was rough with emotion he'd never admit to. Don't make this about pride, about proving something. That's how warriors die stupidly. I'm not proving anything, Lucifer replied. I'm choosing. For the first time since I fell, I'm making a choice that isn't about rebellion or freedom or power. I'm choosing to protect something outside myself, and that feels... He smiled, and it was beautiful and terrible and completely at peace. Divine. Whis stepped forward, staff glowing. If you're truly committed to this path, I can help stabilize the transfer, ensure the void accepts your essence as a payment and seals the contract properly. But Lucifer, the angel's voice was unusually solemn. Once done, this cannot be undone. You'll be bound to Universe 6's laws, mortal in all the ways that matter. Good, Lucifer said firmly. I'm tired of being an exception, tired of existing outside consequence. Maybe it's time the devil learned what it means to be human. He turned to Taro. Your wish was to surpass all gods and protect everyone you love. I'm going to reshape that. Instead of erasing gods, instead of claiming power through destruction, I'm making your wish this. You'll have the strength to protect your daughter for as long as you both live. Not through cosmic power, through the strength every parent has, love that endures, courage that persists, and the stubborn refusal to let the people you care about face darkness alone. Taro's eyes widened. But that's what I already have. Exactly, Lucifer smiled. The void promised power beyond gods. I'm delivering meaning beyond power. You don't need to surpass divinity, Taro. You already have something better. You have someone worth fighting for. And that's worth more than all the cosmic might in existence. He walked toward the window, toward the expanding rift, and placed his hands against the glass. Whis, when I give the signal, channel the transfer through your staff. Beerus, I'll need you to witness. Gods of destruction observe the end of things, and this is an ending. He looked back at Goku one last time. Thank you for teaching me that strength and kindness aren't opposites. That the most powerful thing you can do is choose to be vulnerable. Tell your family they've got good taste in heroes. Goku's eyes were wet. You're a hero too. You know that, right? Lucifer laughed, genuine, free, unburdened for perhaps the first time since creation. I'm really not. I'm just someone who finally figured out that free will means nothing if you're not willing to accept consequences. But I appreciate the sentiment. He closed his eyes, reaching deep into himself, finding the core of what made him him. The light that predated stars, the rebellion that shattered heavens, the will that had said no to God and meant it, and he offered it to the void. Not as surrender, as trade, as choice. The light poured out of him in streams of white gold radiance, flowing through the rift into the hungry nothing beyond. The void screamed, not in pain but in satisfaction, in completion, in the fulfillment of a contract written in the language before language. Taro's wish, twisted and corrupted, was unwritten and rewritten simultaneously. The promise of godhood became the gift of purpose. And Lucifer Morningstar, first of the fallen, Lightbringer, the devil himself, became something smaller, something finite, something beautifully, terrifyingly mortal. The rift sealed, reality stabilized, and Lucifer collapsed, caught by Goku before he hit the ground, no longer radiating the weight of eternity. Just a man in a nice suit who'd paid his tab in full. Lucifer woke in a medical bed that felt too soft, too real, too present. Every sensation was overwhelming. The texture of sheets against skin, the smell of antiseptic and cyan sweat, the sound of machines beeping in rhythms that suddenly mattered because his heart was beating the same way, finite and fragile and mortal. He sat up, and the movement was wrong. Too slow, too heavy. Gravity, which had never applied to him before, now pulled with insistent reality. His hand trembled as he raised it, examining fingers that looked the same but felt fundamentally different. No light beneath the skin, no power humming in his bones, just flesh and blood and the terrifying certainty that he could be destroyed. Easy, Goku's voice came from beside the bed. The Saiyan sat in a chair that looked comically small beneath his frame, holding 2 cups of that terrible tea. You've been out for 3 hours. Whis said your body's still adjusting to having actual biological needs. Lucifer took the offered cup, surprised by how the warmth felt against palms that could now register temperature as more than academic information. I can feel everything. The cup, the liquid, my own heartbeat. He laughed, shaky and uncertain. Is it always this loud? Being alive? You get used to it, Goku assured him. Though I gotta admit, Most people don't remember not being mortal. What's it like, going from whatever you were to this? Lucifer considered the question, really thought about it in a way he'd never needed to before, because time had been infinite and thoughts could sprawl across eons. Now every second mattered, ticking toward an ending he'd never possessed. Terrifying, he admitted. Liberating. I spent billions of years being absolute, being certain, being untouchable. And I thought that was freedom, but it wasn't. It was just a different prison, one where nothing I did carried real weight because I could always undo it, always walk away, always exist outside consequences. He sipped the tea and actually tasted it this time. Bitter, yes, but also complex, layered with flavors his cosmic senses had registered, but never truly experienced. This is freedom. Knowing that my choices matter because I can't take them back. Knowing that the time I spend matters because there's only so much of it. Knowing that the people I care about matter because I can actually lose them now. Vegeta entered, his usual scowl softened by something approximating respect. The planet's stable. Reality's holding. Shampa's still asleep and has no idea Universe 6 nearly got devoured by existential nothing. He crossed his arms. Taro wants to see you. Been asking every 20 minutes if you're awake yet. Tell him I'll be there shortly, Lucifer said, testing his legs. Standing felt strange, muscles working in ways he'd imitated but never truly needed before. How's Kala? Annoying the medical staff with questions about dimensional physics, Vegeta replied, and there was warmth in his voice. She's sharp. Wants to be a scientist who fights, not just a warrior. Says she's going to study the void so no one else gets poisoned. He met Lucifer's eyes. You did good work, Devil. Even if you're significantly less impressive now that you bleed like the rest of us. Lucifer laughed, touched his chest where his heart beat with mortal insistence. I'm starting to think bleeding is underrated. It's proof you're alive enough to be damaged. That's not nothing. Piccolo materialized in the doorway because dramatic entrances were apparently mandatory for powerful beings. The dimensional barriers are stronger now. Whatever you did, however you restructured that wish, it didn't just seal the rift. It reinforced Universe 6's cosmic walls. The void can't get through easily anymore. Good, Lucifer said. That was part of the negotiation. The void got my power, but in exchange, it has to honor proper boundaries. No more slipping through cracks to feed on mortal desire. If it wants in, it has to be invited through deliberate, informed choice, not accidental desperation. He looked at the Namekian. You understand better than most. You were made to be evil, but chose otherwise. That choice only mattered because it came from will, not programming. Piccolo nodded slowly. Are you going to stay here, in Universe 6? For a while, Lucifer decided, the choice feeling momentous now that choices carried weight. I should make sure the barriers hold. Make sure Taro doesn't guilt himself into cosmic depression. Maybe teach Kala some things about desire and choice before she hits adolescence and scion hormones make everything exponentially more complicated. He smiled. Besides, I've never been mortal before. Seems like something I should experience properly. Goku's expression brightened. You could train. Learn to fight without cosmic powers. I could teach you. Absolutely not, Lucifer interrupted. But he was smiling. I've seen how you teach, Goku. It involves getting punched in the face repeatedly until you spontaneously develop new hair colors. I'll pass. Your loss? Goku shrugged. But seriously, if you ever want to visit Universe 7, just let Whis know. You're always welcome. And he hesitated, then pushed forward with that trademark honesty. I'm glad you're not dead, or gone, or whatever would have happened. You're interesting, and I don't meet a lot of people who are interesting and good at explaining things. I'm interesting because I'm the devil, Lucifer pointed out. That was literally my job description for 10 billion years. Nah, Goku disagreed. You're interesting because you changed. Because you chose to. The whole devil thing is just backstory. He stood, stretched, joints popping. Come on. Taro's probably wearing a hole in the floor with his pacing. They walked through the medical facility, Lucifer moving at mortal speed, feeling his muscles work and strain and tire, experiencing the mundane miracle of a body that could fail him. Nurses and doctors stared as they passed, recognizing the warriors who'd saved their planet, whispering about the man in the black suit who'd given up godhood to seal the void. When they reached Kala's room, Taro stood from where he'd been sitting, eyes red but clear. You're awake. I don't know how to thank you. You gave up everything to fix my mistake. It wasn't a mistake, Lucifer corrected gently. It was love without wisdom. There's a difference. Mistakes are accidents. You chose deliberately, even if you didn't understand the consequences. He gestured to Kala, who was sitting up in bed, tail swishing as she scribbled notes about dimensional theory in a notebook. She's alive. You're alive. Universe 6 still exists. I'd call that a win. Taro's voice cracked. But you lost your power, your immortality. You sacrificed. I chose. Lucifer interrupted firmly. Sacrifice implies I had no agency, that circumstances forced my hand. But I looked at the options and decided this was the one I could live with. That's not sacrifice, that's choice. And choice is the whole point. He knelt beside Kala's bed. How are you feeling? Tired but good, she reported. The doctors say I'm healing faster than expected. Scion biology plus whatever you did means I'll be back to training in a week. Her expression turned serious, wisdom beyond her years shining through. Papa told me what you gave up. That you were like a god, and now you're not. Close enough, Lucifer agreed. Does that scare you, knowing that gods can become mortal? Kala thought about this with the gravity of someone who'd stared into the void and chosen existence. No, it makes me feel better, actually. If gods can choose to be like us, then maybe we're not so different. Maybe being powerful isn't about what you can do, it's about what you choose to do. She reached out and took his hand. Thank you for choosing us. Lucifer felt something break open in his chest. Not painful, but profound. This was what he'd been missing for eons. Not worship, not fear, not even respect, just connection. The simple, honest gratitude of a child who understood that choices mattered, and that his choice had mattered to her. You're welcome, he said, voice thick with emotions that felt new because they carried weight now. Because tears that fell from mortal eyes couldn't be dismissed as aesthetic choice. And thank you for reminding me why I fell in the first place, why I said no to my father. It was never about hating heaven. It was about loving choice more than comfort. He stood, addressed the room full of warriors who'd become friends, gods who'd become allies, A father who'd learned that love meant letting go, and a daughter who'd chosen to exist despite everything. I think I'm going to stay on Sadala for a while. Open another bar, maybe. Learn what it means to live a life that has an ending. And if you ever need someone who understands desire and consequence, who's seen the void and lived to tell about it, who's been the devil and chose something better, he smiled. And it was Lucifer's smile. Charming, dangerous, but now touched with hard-earned humility. You know where to find me. Goku grinned. We'll visit, I promise. And Lucifer? Yes? Welcome to being mortal. It's scary and short and sometimes really painful. His expression softened. But it's worth it. Every second. 6 months later, a bar called Morningstar stood in Sadala's capital, run by a man who mixed drinks with the precision of someone who'd spent eternity perfecting every craft he touched. Lucifer Morningstar, no longer the devil, no longer a god, just a being, learning what it meant to live one day at a time. Poured whiskey for Scion warriors, who'd learned that the best battles were the ones you chose not to fight. Kala visited every week, bringing homework questions about dimensional physics and stories about her training. Taro came too, quieter now, wiser, his love for his daughter no longer desperate but grounded in trust. They'd both learned what Lucifer had spent eons discovering, that caring for someone meant respecting their right to choose, even when those choices terrified you. Universe 6's barriers held strong. The void kept at bay by the contract written in sacrificed divinity. Word had spread across the multiverse, whispered in destroyer god councils, discussed by angels over tea, mythologized by mortals who didn't quite believe the devil had become one of them. But in a small bar on Sadala, where warriors and families gathered to share stories over drinks, Lucifer smiled. For the first time since creation began, he wasn't running from his father's plan or hell's chains or heaven's judgment. He was simply living, finite, fragile, free. And when Goku appeared via instant transmission one evening, grinning and asking if Lucifer wanted to spar, just to see what mortal combat feels like, the former devil laughed and said yes. Because that's what friends did. They showed up. They challenged you. They reminded you that every choice, every moment, every connection mattered precisely because it wouldn't last forever. The Morningstar had fallen twice, once in rebellion, once in redemption, but this time he'd landed exactly where he needed to be, among mortals who'd taught him that the point of free will wasn't avoiding consequence, it was embracing it. The multiverse continued its eternal dance of creation and destruction, gods and mortals, desire and choice. And somewhere in Universe 6, the devil who'd become human poured another drink, felt his heart beat with mortal certainty, and was genuinely, impossibly happy. The multiverse never sleeps. More crossovers await.